In 2024, the average American family is estimated to have spent around $78,233 on consumer expenditures. That represents an increase of approximately 5.1% compared to the previous year. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, wages rose by 3.8% during the same period. You do the math. Spending is growing faster than earnings. The gap between the cost of all necessary and unnecessary expenses people make and what they can actually afford is widening more and more with each passing day. But there is something making this even worse than it appears. A significant portion of those expenses were once genuinely reasonable purchases, but as we arrive at today, many of them have lost much of their meaning. Reasonable purchases, products, and services have begun to be quietly and insidiously built around spending maximum dollars for minimum value. Inflation alone doesn't fully explain this. Corporate pricing strategies have been made to appear increasingly attractive. Subscription models have multiplied. The economy you understood growing up and the economic environment you are in right now are completely different from one another. As a wallet, I have come here today to talk to you about exactly this. I have been carried in people's pockets for years, and the time has come to admit it. Some purchases that felt normal 5 years ago are now on the edge of financial self-sabotage. Continuing old spending habits means being in a silent internal war against your own wealth. This video is about the kind of consumption habits in 2026 that have lost their meaning and are no longer worth your money. Some will seem obvious, others may surprise you. All of them are quietly draining your bank accounts while offering less value than they once did. Beginning to make sense of where your money is actually going is the most important key to keeping more of it in your hands, and in this video, I am going to talk to you about exactly that key. 1. Food delivery apps. DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub. These platforms made a powerful shift in the way people eat. They also fundamentally changed how much people pay for that convenience. The economics, when you actually look at them, are brutal. Delivery platforms take a commission of 15 to 30% from restaurants on every order. Restaurants don't absorb that cost. They pass it directly to customers through inflated menu prices. Research shows that prices on delivery apps are approximately 25% higher than the same items purchased at the restaurant. That's a sum that has been sneakily charged to you without any additional fee. Delivery fee, service fee, small order fee if you don't meet the threshold, tip for the driver, sometimes a surge pricing fee during busy hours. A meal that costs $12 at the restaurant can easily climb to $22 through the app, an 83% premium for someone to pick up your food. Since 2023, app prices have risen a further 8 to 12%. The gap between app prices and restaurant prices continues to grow wider with each passing day. The convenience argument made sense when delivery was occasional. When it becomes a habit, the math gets painful. Someone paying a $15 premium per order twice a week spends an extra $1,560 a year for the privilege of not driving 10 minutes. That same money invested for 20 years at 8% annual return grows to approximately $7,800. Delivery apps know exactly what they are doing. Their interfaces are brilliantly designed to minimize friction and maximize ordering. Subscription services like DashPass create illusions of savings while locking people into consistent usage patterns, and most people fall for it every single time. Making this a regular habit in 2026 becomes one that will wear your wallet out considerably. An emergency order makes sense. A weekly habit is a wealth transfer from your bank account to company shareholders. 2. Brand new cars. The second you drive a new car off the dealership lot, it loses approximately 20% of its value. On a $48,000 car, close to the 2026 average new car price, that means $9,600 vanishes before you reach your first stop. That level of loss is far too significant to dismiss. By the end of the first year, depreciation typically reaches 25 to 30%. Your $48,000 car is now worth $33,000 to $36,000. For many Americans, you have essentially wiped out nearly one full year of rent expenses in an instant. If you financed most of it, the situation gets even worse. Negative equity, owing more than the car is worth, happens almost immediately for many buyers. You end up unable to sell without bringing cash to cover the difference. This becomes a trap that squeezes you even further. 5-year-old cars occupy the sweet spot that new car buyers ignore. They have already absorbed the steepest depreciation. They generally don't yet need major repairs. Modern vehicles easily reach 150 to 200,000 miles with basic maintenance. Buy a reliable 5-year-old car. Of course, do your research thoroughly and confirm the car is genuinely in good condition. Drive that car for 3 to 4 years, then sell it before it starts aging and major repairs become likely. The depreciation you experience during your ownership period is incomparable to what new car buyers go through. Most of the time, you can sell it for close to what you paid, making car ownership far more profitable compared to buying new. By the end of 2025, the average monthly payment on a new car loan reached $738 according to Edmunds. That is $8,856 a year before insurance, fuel, and maintenance. Someone who buys used with cash eliminates that payment entirely and directs nearly $9,000 toward real wealth building. Millionaire behavior research gives us valuable insight on this. The typical millionaire drives a Toyota, Honda, or Ford. The median price they paid for their vehicle is $31,367. They view transportation as a tool, not a status symbol or display of wealth, and in doing so, use the money in their pockets in a genuinely functional way. In 2026, brand new cars are nothing more than traps dressed up in luxury. 3. Sit-down restaurants. Restaurant prices have risen 35% since 2019, according to the BLS. A burger at a casual sit-down restaurant now ranges from $16 to $22 in most markets. Add a drink and an appetizer, onion rings, fries, sauces, and you're approaching $40 per person before tip. When 2 people go out for a decent dinner, they easily spend $100 to $140, including drinks. Now imagine doing that every day. The same meal could have cost $50 to $60 5 years ago, noticeably less. The value proposition has flipped. Prices have doubled or more, portions have shrunk, the experience has gotten worse too. Service has declined at restaurants struggling with staffing and cost issues. We've started paying more for lower quality, smaller meals. Drinks represent the best profit margin in a restaurant's entire model. A $14 cocktail uses about $2 worth of ingredients. A $4 soda-type drink costs a restaurant roughly 15 cents to serve. With a 2,000% profit margin, drinks are a big deal. These add-ons exist because when food margins get squeezed, restaurants stay afloat on drink profits. A sit-down dinner takes roughly 1 to 2 hours. If you really think about it, you can make a better meal at home in 30 minutes for a quarter of the cost. This doesn't mean never eating out. Eating out can sometimes be necessary and something you genuinely want. Celebration meals still carry meaning. There's still value beyond the food itself in an occasional experience. But the weekly restaurant habit that so many households have kept up has lost its economic rationality. Even for a modest family of 4, eating out drives household expenses up dramatically. A family spending $200 a week in an expensive market spends $10,400 a year. That same family could eat exceptional meals at home for $600 a month, saving over $3,000 a year, while likely eating healthier and coming out ahead with more money and better health. 4. Streaming service subscriptions. The streaming revolution was supposed to save money. That was the expectation. Cut cable, pay just $8 a month for Netflix, get unlimited content. Unfortunately, that value proposition died years ago. Netflix's standard plan now runs somewhere between $15 and $30 a month. Disney Plus is $13.99, Hulu is $17.99, HBO Max is $16.99, Apple TV Plus is $9.99, and that's not even counting all the others. Subscribing to all the major streaming services now costs more than $100 a month. That's $1,200 a year, far more than what many people used to pay for cable. Platforms deliberately fragment content to force multiple subscriptions. The show you want to watch moved from Netflix to Amazon. The movie you were waiting for lands on a platform you don't have. The sports package requires yet another subscription. This fragmentation is intentional. Every platform wants to produce exclusive content special enough that you can't bring yourself to cancel. They're rebuilding the very cable bundle they claimed to be replacing, except now you pay for each piece separately but end up with essentially the same thing. The only difference is you're paying more than before. The solution requires a discipline most people refuse to practice. Subscribe to one service at a time, not several at once. Watch everything you want on that platform, consume its content, then cancel. Then subscribe to the next one. Instead of getting everything at once, buy access to different platforms at different times. This approach costs $12 to $20 a month instead of $75. You still get access to all the content, just not simultaneously, but sequentially. If you don't want to pay more than necessary, you may need to let your show's new season wait a little while. 5. Fast food. Fast food used to mean cheap food. That's no longer true. At McDonald's, a Big Mac meal now runs $12 to $15 in most markets. Even at Taco Bell, historically the cheapest major chain, a basic meal is now $10 to $12. Fast food prices have risen 55% since 2019. That's a staggering increase when you look at it. According to the BLS, menu prices alone rose about 10% in 2023, and unfortunately, this upward trend shows no sign of reversing. The value proposition was never about health. Everyone understood that. The value proposition was low cost, convenience, accessibility. Take away the low cost, and what's left is food that's unhealthy and questionably made at a very high price. With $15, you can make a meal at home with real nutritional value, not just for yourself, but for your whole family. The time difference is minimal. Of course, it varies by meal, but most simple meals take 15 to 20 minutes, an hour at most. A regular fast food habit costs someone who eats it consistently $3,000 to $5,000 a year. That's money actively wrecking your health while enriching the companies selling it to you. Fast food made sense when a meal cost $4 to $6. It was still unhealthy, but at least it made sense from a price standpoint. At today's prices, it fails every reasonable value test. It doesn't make the grade. 6. The latest tech. The new iPhone costs about $1,200. It takes slightly better, slightly higher quality photos and videos than what you already have. It runs the same apps at roughly the same speed, or with only minimal differences. When you really look at it, it delivers the same basic experience. The improvement between smartphone generations is nearly zero for the average user. There's almost no difference a typical person would notice in daily use between an iPhone 15 and an iPhone 13. Same YouTube, same email, everything's the same. And yet millions of people pay $1,200 every year for upgrades that are imperceptible and don't make logical sense. Manufacturers deliberately slow down older devices through software updates, and quietly at that. Batteries are designed to degrade. Repair costs are so close to replacement costs that very few people bother getting things fixed. This whole system is built to push you toward constantly switching, constantly buying the newest thing. And it's not just phones. New laptops, tablets, and TVs offer smaller improvements over older versions, yet they're met with heavy marketing pressure regardless. Let me offer you a suggestion. Buy technology that's 1 or 2 generations behind the latest release. A refurbished phone often costs half of what a new one does, and it has every feature you actually need. The performance difference is undetectable in normal use. Someone who buys a new phone every 2 years loses about $600 a year purely to depreciation. Accumulated over a career, that money could add up to tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even more than that. And for what? A 3% sharper photo. 7. Expensive weddings. The average American wedding costs about $35,000 according to the Knott's 2024 research. Yes, joining your life with someone you love is something worth celebrating, but $35,000 for a single day, just for a party, 6 hours of your life. Research shows money is one of the biggest causes of divorce. Money like the $35,000 spent on that wedding. When a relationship that's about to be tested by financial stress gets an extra $35,000 of debt piled on top, things can sometimes fall apart. The wedding industry has perfected emotional manipulation. The moment you attach the word wedding to something, it gets more expensive. Photographers charge twice as much for wedding photography compared to other kinds of shoots. Flowers triple in price once they're wedding flowers. A venue that charges $500 for any corporate event charges $5,000 for a wedding reception. None of this is a price paid for quality. You're just paying for the label. According to research from Emory University, couples who spend $50,000 or more have a 46% higher likelihood of divorce than couples who spend less than $10,000. Correlation isn't causation, but the pattern is striking. A meaningful ceremony doesn't actually require financial devastation. Courthouse weddings are legally valid. Backyard receptions create real memories, and increasingly so. The marriage matters more than the party celebrating it. It's more meaningful. If you can spend $35,000 without draining your savings, gutting your retirement fund, or disrupting your financial rhythm, then do what you want. But if that number is going to end up on credit cards, on extra loans, you're trading long-term security for a short-term party. Unfortunately, photographs don't pay dividends. 8. Luxury travel. Airline prices have risen 30 to 40% since 2019. A domestic flight that used to cost $250 now runs between $350 and $400. A week-long vacation for 2, flights, hotels, food, extra activities, now requires spending between $2,000 and $4,000. According to family vacation industry surveys, a family spends an average of $8,000 to $10,000 a week on a Disney vacation. For someone earning $50,000 a year, a Disney vacation equals about 20% of their gross income. After taxes, that's spending roughly 25% of what you actually bring home for a single week. Travel is important and valuable, of course. Travel has real value. Experiences are beautiful and create memories worth keeping. Seeing and exploring different places enriches life in ways material purchases never can. The problem was never travel itself, it's traveling beyond what your wallet can carry. According to Bankrate, the average American doesn't even have savings to cover a $1,000 emergency, yet many of those same people take vacations worth thousands of dollars, financed on credit cards. Your budget can deliver the vast majority of the travel experience at a much lower cost. The key is being able to see that. A road trip instead of a flight, an Airbnb instead of a resort, a picnic instead of a restaurant meal, a walking tour instead of an expensive guided tour. Traveling within your means creates genuine enjoyment because you're not carrying the stress of financial strain while you're still on vacation. Traveling beyond your means coming home to a credit card you have no idea how you'll pay off. 9. Buy now, pay later financing. Affirm, Klarna, Afterpay. These services have made financing possible for almost anything: a $50 sweater, a $200 bag, a $30 skincare product. On the surface, the offer sounds perfectly sensible. Split your purchase into 4. No interest if you pay on time. Easy and convenient. The reality is more complicated. These services exist because they're profitable. Nobody's doing this out of charity. They're profitable because retailers collect a lot of money from late fees and missed payments. Research now shows buy now, pay later users spend 10 to 40% more than people who pay up front. The psychological trick is simple. A $200 purchase feels expensive and you think you can't afford it. 4 $50 installments feel manageable, doable. Your brain processes the small number but unfortunately ignores the total. According to a Federal Reserve Bank survey, about 40% of buy now, pay later users miss at least one payment. Late fees pile up. Some services charge interest on the remaining balance. The old wisdom still holds true. If you can't pay for something in cash, you actually can't afford it. There are exceptions for a house and sometimes a car, because those are assets that provide value for years. But going into debt for a handbag, going into debt for a toaster is absurd and unnecessary. Every payment plan is built on the gap between money you haven't earned yet and things you want, and that gap only ever gets closer to growing bigger. 10. Premium coffee drinks. A pumpkin spice latte at Starbucks sells for $7 to $9 in most markets. Basic coffee starts at $3 to $4. Add any customization, lactose-free milk, oat milk, decaf, and you're approaching $6 to $7. Coffee at home, even with high-quality beans, costs about 25 to 50 cents a cup. The gap is staggering. A daily Starbucks habit, that seemingly modest, overly sweet $6 drink, adds up to more than $2,190 a year. Someone who makes coffee at home for 50 cents a day spends $182.50 a year. For the same caffeine, the annual difference is over $2,000. If that amount sat in an investment account for 30 years at an 8% return, that annual savings would grow to about $245,000, $250,000 just from making coffee at home. Premium coffee shops aren't really selling coffee. They're selling experience, convenience, and social interaction. If your daily Starbucks visit enriches your life by $2,000 a year, that's your call. Go ahead and head to the nearest coffee shop. But most people never ran the numbers. The habit formed before the math was done, and by then, changing it became very hard. The things draining your money in 2026 share common traits. They exploit convenience, they leverage status, they play with your psychology. Every category on this list adds up to thousands of dollars a year. Examined individually, each one might seem insignificant, but combined they reveal a much bigger picture. Put a few of them together and you'll see $10,000 to $20,000 in spending that delivers no lasting satisfaction. That same money, invested consistently, builds real wealth, the kind that actually improves and beautifies your life. The economic system wants you to spend unconsciously. Algorithms are designed to trigger purchases. They do everything they can to make you buy. Marketing budgets exist to manufacture desire. The want, buy, pay cycle keeps going. Your only defense, the one thing that can save you, is awareness. These 10 categories aren't inherently bad. Some of them can genuinely improve and enhance your life in ways that justify the price. The question isn't whether everyone should spend money on these things. The question is, Did you make a conscious decision, or did the spending happen while you weren't paying attention? How mindful were you when you got what you got? Your money either works for corporations and algorithms, or it works for you. In 2026, knowing the difference is worth more than the money itself. You can still turn things around from here. Take control of your money. See you in the next video.